Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise. And we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear viewer, dear listener, my name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. I welcome you once again to yet another exciting, invigorating, fascinating episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. As always, we do our best to bring life-changing, powerful, impactful information each and every time. And this time I have a guest who's going to do exactly that, impact you in a very, very powerful manner. We're going to talk about identity and purpose in business. And my guest is Taolo Taes Entaile. Welcome to the studio, Mr. Entaile.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me, Mr. Mogobe. Okay. It's a pleasure.
Let's kick the ball rolling by you just in a few short words explaining, break down your, what you do and what you're about.
Yes, sir. Thank you. My name is Taolo Taes Entaile, as you have alluded. In 3 words, I can say I'm a creative, I'm a speaker, and I'm an entrepreneur. In the creative space, I develop concepts which we intend to turn them into brands, then export those brands and maximize on the opportunities that may come with. And when it comes to speaking, I speak from 3 things, which is the spirituality part, which is business, and my personal experience. And then entrepreneurship is driven more on turning my passion into business. So I really do follow on suit on what things that I love and find ways, creative ways of making sure that I enjoy myself in the process while I serve my purpose that God has created me to be.
Educationally and maybe academically, what can you tell us?
I studied a computer engineering course for a year. Back then it was, I don't know what it's still called now, but it was fairly new. It was called A+ when I finished school. And after that I came and I worked for an IT company for 3 months. And I started off into, basically I started my work, because I always say work is what God creates you to be, and job, you get paid to do the job because you go to school to learn that. So I left my job and then started with my work, because the word work in Hebrew, it's becoming what you created to be, to serve your purpose. So that's when I left my job to start with my work, and we started with casting with my then business partner in a company called True Blue.
What did it do?
True Blue was focusing more on casting. We worked with models. We scouted different faces to cast them for different advertising agencies, so that they can be used on these billboards. So when you see people around on billboards or ads, on TV ads, that was us, because we realized that agencies don't have time to go on the ground to look for faces. They have to come up with creative ways that they can pitch to clients. So we became the middleman in the whole picture. So from there, from the relationship that we established, we bought our first camera, which now created other opportunities for us to now start taking pictures for the very same clients for their events. And then we started our own fashion magazine called True Blue then, and also freelanced on The Voice on the column maybe about the fashion twins. Yes, and we built from there.
So how long have you been an entrepreneur?
I started when I was 19.
Wow.
I'm sitting on 38 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's in
And I think it's also because I grew up in an environment that was business orientated. My dad was a civil engineer, so he was running businesses, or I'd say just a construction business, projects that he did fencing, building houses, cattle chasing, sand cushioning and all that. So whenever we close from primary, we'll go to different sites. I know most of the parts of Botswana because of the project that we engaged in.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to talk about identity, and it covers issues of the gift and purpose. How do you separate the three so that we are left with identity and in other words, the three words are gift, identity, and purpose.
Yes.
But we're going to talk about identity and purpose without the gift.
Yeah.
Or are they three intertwined?
Oh, they're intertwined.
Yes.
Yes. And also there's one thing that is missing there, but let me start off here. Everyone in life is created with a purpose. Everyone in life is given a gift by God before he's created. Pretty much God takes you on a journey in the spirit before he creates you to be physically seen. So what he does, he takes a walk with you. That's why the Bible says he knows the beginning from the end. So he takes a walk with you in the spirit and shows you, Mr. Entaile, you are going to walk from here to there. Because he already knows what is going to transpire in your life. Pretty much you just have to plug in and be. You can't change your destiny. When God said you are going to be this, you're eventually going to be that. Now, that is why you find that some people would say, I have a deja vu. How do you explain deja vu? Because you've seen it in the spirit when you walked with God before you actually came to be who you are. Then what God does, because he's a businessman, he would look down on earth and say...
Very interesting way of describing God.
Yeah, because he's always looking for solutions of problems that he sees. So that's why I'm saying everyone plays a role. He has a purpose. Nobody is just meant to just exist. So he looked down on earth and say, okay, there is a gap. I see maybe Botswana in 20 years' time, they are going to be maybe a sad nation, just for an example. Then he says, Mogobe, I'm going to give you an identity. That's the first thing. Or let me just give a typical example about you. These people are going to need somebody to represent them. I foresee these things going to happen in the next 20 years. So because he provides a solution before you even know about the problem. So he creates you and say, one, there's an identity. You're going to be a lawyer. That's the identity. Then he places a gift in you. You're a lawyer. After he gives you that gift, it's a Malanaleo gift. Now he gives you what is called grace. Grace is what makes your gift, for you to use your gift gracefully, with ease. Because if I'm not a lawyer...
That's what gracefully means.
Yes.
Grace means with ease.
With ease.
In fact,
so,
with panache. With
yes,
style.
yes.
Yeah.
That is why you find that there are struggling lawyers, there are struggling creatives who try to play in the space that they are not created to be. That is why when you pray to God out of the perimeters of who you are, he will never answer your prayers. If you are a lawyer, he created you to be a lawyer, and then you pray for him to bless you to be a construction, a businessman. He will not allow that to be, because he knows you are enough. Before you are formed, you are enough. You can't be on this earth when you are not enough. Well, so he gives you that grace, and that grace, it's a melanali gift there. That's what activates and make it easy for you to do what you have to do with ease. And the fourth thing is purpose. Every gift that God gives to a person, it has to serve a purpose. That is why you find that when he said to Abraham, go to the land that I'll show you, he said these words, I'll make you a great nation. And then he said, I will bless you. Then he continued to say, I'll make you a great name. And the fourth thing he said, you'll be a blessing. So which means
I'm blessing you so you can become
be
a blessing.
a blessing. So you need to understand that we serve our purpose to be a blessing to other people.
Wow.
That is what the fifth thing is. You become a destiny helper. Honale, earlier on when the cameras were off, I asked you a question and it was deliberate because I knew right now you are sitting on 150, 160 employees. You are a destiny helper to your employees. So God has created you to serve this purpose because the researchers or the stats have shown that a black person provides for 10 people, one person. If you're employed, you help 10, about 10.
Yeah, 10 mouths to feed.
10 mouths to feed. So you serve your purpose by doing who you're supposed to be.
Wow, this is so powerful.
Era.
Let's talk about your spirituality business or about the spirituality business experience.
Era.
Because I sense that your spirituality and your business are not separate.
Era.
It's one and the same.
Yes.
Help us understand that.
I see that when we go to church or when we meditate on the word, we set it aside and say, you close the Bible and you leave it there. We recharge. And then when you're in business, you focus on what you are doing. If you hit rock bottom, it was one of those bad days in the office and that's it. And then there is the third part, which is your personal life or your experiences. That is, all these three are intertwined. When you understand who you are in the spirit, it becomes easier for you to become who you are in business. And God allows you to experience these challenges to shape you and shape your character so that He gets all these three together to make them one. Because if say, for example, right now, if you look at one scripture, as a man thinketh, so is he. And the other one says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So which means that you need to understand, you draw this.
Thought to think in the head, but now the Bible says in his heart.
Yes. So the heart, that is where the content of your passion, your desires are. And then it takes you back to what I've been saying, that if your gift the passion that is in you, that helps you to drive towards what you're supposed to be. So there is no way that you can separate the three, because if you draw your source of encouragement and motivation from this and make the word to be your daily, it becomes part of your business.
Part of your daily nourishment.
Part of your daily nourishment.
Then after you've explained all that, practicalize it in your life.
Era.
Tell me about your businesses, the spiritual side, and how it all comes together.
Okay. Let me take an example of the creative side. Once I learned that God is a creative, I realized that I have so much to give to the world, because He created once, but He said, you will do greater things than I. So it means He has entrusted us with us to do more in terms of applying our minds. That's why they say the purpose, the scripture says the purpose in a man's heart is deeper, like it's deep like waters. And the one with wisdom is the one who's going to draw it out. So it means I have the gifts in me, but I would need Mr. Mogobe to come and make me to be uncomfortable and help me to achieve what I'm supposed to do. That is why when I as a soccer player, the one with the eye, we say, this guy is going to be a star. Then you nourish that, you cultivate that. So when it comes to my life, I realize that spirituality has helped me to maintain certain principles that I apply even in business. Not to do certain things, to treat people in a certain way. I pay attention, even the way you've been talking to your employees. I realize a lot about who you are. Yeah, so these are things that when you draw wisdom from that, same way as people, when some people would read books, some people would listen to sermons, but whatever that makes you to grow from this level to the next level, you need, but also be careful of what you take in, because at times you may find that the more you listen to certain people, they may talk negative things to you and say you cannot be calm. So I apply myself in that I would take the scripture, meditate on it, and try to understand deep, word by word, to understand even what the word means. And then that is when I can take it forth and apply it in business. Yes.
And business, we are talking specifically about the business of what?
Business of creative. Like I said, I mean in the creative space.
Yes, but what specifically?
One, in the past 2 years, I've been in TV production. Like I've alluded earlier on, I've been in the event space for quite some time. There have been big brands that we built from scratch. Back to school.
Yes.
Black Tie Lifestyle, which we hosted here even in South Africa. Eat Music we hosted in Malaysia. Fashion parties, fashion shows that we did even for KBL when we're doing Reds Africa Fashion Awards. Corporate events as well. And then also because of the network that I have.
So it's events management?
Yes, sir.
As well as
TV production,
yes,
concept development, fashion consultancy, where I address people, different levels of people. And we're also playing in the app development space now. Yes, sir.
Mindset and vision, pioneer, maximizing on the value chain.
Yeah.
Talk about it in practical terms.
I'd say, for us, we struggle a lot when, in terms of the space that we play in, because we find ourselves becoming our own enemies, in the sense that we talk ourselves out of opportunities that lie ahead of us before we even apply ourselves. And sometimes it's because of the environment. Every one of us has a seed in his hand that is supposed to plow. But the three things that matter on the outcome of that seed is the environment, it is the cultivation of that seed, and also it is the opportunities that are available. So it's very important for one to have self-belief before anything. Like we said earlier on, as a man thinketh, so is he. God said to Abraham, as far as you can see, you shall possess this land. That was about vision. If you see yourself to be here, this is where you're going to end. But I know that I've given you enough for you to become what you can envision to be. So it's an open check.
God has given us an open check.
He has given us
Our job is to write the figure.
Our job is to write the figure. Now the problem is that, I think for us in Botswana is that, one is that we have, I think we've been, it's like, example, it's like two kids who are neighbors. This family is well off, this one is not well off. And this one is spoiled, lack of a better word, and this one works hard, and the parents keep molding him, telling him, you need to do 1, 2, 3, 4.
The one who's not well off.
The one who's not well off.
Normally beats the
eventually
the spoiled brat each and every time.
Yes, so I don't know if I can say Botswana we are spoiled brats, in the sense that our government has supported us and given us so much comfort that we are not out there. We are not, we don't relocate.
Are we that in a sense then victims of our own success?
Maybe.
Victims of a government success?
Maybe so. Yeah, because if you travel to so many places, you find that multinationals are there, but I can't say we are even the minority in the population that is out there. If you look at brands that are out there that are about native Botswana have put out, you can't even see. We are not even a drop in the ocean. So I think that our mindset needs to change in the sense that we need to look at ourselves and say we want to take our products out there. We want to take our businesses out there. We should not even be afraid to relocate and seek for other opportunities. Because the same way as Jonah was spat out by the big fish, I feel that it was also an issue of positioning. Sometimes you need to be rejected to be accepted. You need to relocate for new allocation, you know. So when you get to if you read the scripture of Jonah, the day he got there, the people gave their lives after he had a conversation with them. So it means that sometimes for you, when you keep on getting constant rejection in your own place, like I said about the issue of environment, you need to maybe to change the environment.
So sometimes you're rejected so that you can be accepted.
Yes.
Applying that to you, Mr. Entaile, what would you say? Let's practicalize it. Have you had those experiences?
A lot of them.
Tell us, share share with us one or two dramatic ones.
I mean, a lot of them. I always come up with, because I'm a creative, I always look at certain, identify certain problems or identify certain opportunities or niches that are there and come up with an idea that I'll pitch to government, to private companies. And half the time, I don't get the deal. And a lot of times what I get from people would say, well, I'm you are 10 years ahead.
10 years ahead.
10 years ahead with your thinking. And you need to get to a place where it's more receptive. Maybe because our country maybe is more tenderpreneur driven than private sector driven. So when you get to, there are certain protocols or hurdles that you have to jump over to get to that. And not to say I'm not willing to jump over those hurdles, but I've experienced,
Some of them are put there needlessly.
You know what I mean? And you find that maybe from top level, there is a word that has been sent out to say support these creatives. But in terms of the system that has been in place for quite some time, it doesn't even change. So it doesn't somehow speak from the same from one
but
place.
I want examples. What happened? Tell us.
For example, I'll give you an example. My brand, back to school.
Back to school, yeah.
We had a support from private companies in our 6th year, where you started maybe with 500 people, and it got to a level that we were sitting on a good 10,000-15,000 people attending, not just only locals, but even from outside. Now the idea was, I had a chat with one of the people in the government setup, more especially in the ministry that is aligned with the creatives. I said to them, we need to get to a level where you should understand that we're not going to be in this space forever. Come up with a system that will maybe just adopt certain key players who, when you look at, say, in the event space, they've been putting their own money, they've shown commitment, and they've shown that they are thriving in this space. Then adopt them, run with them, take them to different areas across the world to benchmark. When they come back, use the very same people to now be the ones who are going to groom the upcoming ones. That is skills transfer. Hela ka go school primary level, nursery school, primary. That is a system that is developed to somehow adopt as we grow. Now, we can't have a system where a guy who's experienced with more than 10 to 15 years in the same space, he's competing with a guy only a year old, and then you are supposed to speak the same language. You know, so these are things that somehow killed or contributed.
So what happened to back to school then?
No, I mean, we're getting a lot of pressure from the system that was supposed to support us. For example, for you to get a license to host even an event, we are struggling.
They're
In a
refusing.
farm, they'll say, no, we are not designated, and we fought this thing for a good 7 years. And the license still says, no, it's a nuisance. When we are saying this is a business. So you can't have...
What's the name of the farm?
It was in G-North.
Hey,
Yeah.
it was used for...
No, it was just a farm. It was not used for anything.
Yeah.
It was owned by a friend.
They just couldn't picture what you wanted to come up with.
Yes, because the idea is, I envision a brand that would eventually have school shoes called Back to School that we can export. Because if you realize what is happening now in our schools, grasshoppers are the most worn school shoes by both male and female. Back in 2000, 2000, when we were still at school, it was maybe 10% of us who were putting on that. But right now I can say 80%, if not 90%.
Yeah.
But it is...
It used to be a very special shoe. Not anybody could afford it.
Yes, but it's not from here. But you can see the uptake, yet the horror is very high. So what I'm saying is that we wanted to build brands that we know eventually we can now manufacture. Gompieno a na le ngwana ha ya sekolong, go na le toothbrush e leng gore wa e dirisa before ya sekolong, go na le scarf tin sa pakelwang ka sone.
Yes.
But you don't know the owner of that, of the person who manufactured that. So the same uptake that we have in Botswana for all these other projects, think about Ngwana ya Sekolong here. All these products that Banaba Dirisa every day going to school, that is what Back to School is. Beyond the event, the event is only 5%. But some of these things they fail because the people that maybe we had conversations with, they didn't really see the bigger vision. But it's not like we also didn't put in our own monies to show that we believe and we have a certain vision about our brands. Let's
talk about the importance of failure and the need to embrace failure.
It's good to fail. I respect somebody who has failed than somebody who's not. Faith that is not being tried cannot be trusted. And I believe that somebody who's failed has so much to give. Because from the caves, I think the story of the gentleman who did the bulbs, or he tried it 999 times.
Thomas Edison.
Yes. And the 1,000 times he got it right. Now he says, I know how to do the bulb or to manufacture the bulb 999 times. As much as I failed.
How not to do it, yes.
Yes, and how not to do it. You know, so it's important for one to fail, because that on its own somehow it helps you to introspect, it helps you to re-strategize.
In your case, what were your failures and how did they help you?
I failed a lot. I failed a lot and I'm still failing.
Tell me more.
I failed a lot in terms of understanding how to take brands and grow them bigger than where I managed to get them.
You grew them, but not to the extent that you could have.
Yes, because I think if I had brought in someone who has the same vision with me, who is also have the same drive and passion with me in terms of what we do, we could take it to the next level. Because as far as I can stretch my hand, I think where it ends, the next person can take it further. So in most of the brands locally that I've tried to grow here, I realized that I tried, but I didn't manage, and I think if I tried harder, I would have also exported most of them. Yeah, and I think...
Did you give up too soon?
Not really. I don't think I've given up too soon, but I think I've allowed myself not to save the energy so that I can be able to rise up again. So it's important for one to sometimes, when you are hit hard, go back, re-strategize, and come back in. So there are a lot of brands that I believe that maybe with the wisdom that I have right now, because of previous failures, I think they'll be able now to, I apply myself better, pretty much that.
But
and the other thing is to also export. I think the one thing that I so believe in is to take our brands out, is to take our businesses out, is to also take ourselves out, and even travel more. Because when you travel more, you are exposed to understand your true value. Because the people that are around you, they know you, they're so used to you. But when you go outside, the reception is totally different. So I feel if I can travel more, I would know my true value, my significance. Then I can be able to serve my purpose even better.
Because you'll be better respected in other areas.
Yes.
Like they say that a prophet is without honor
In his own.
in his home.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't get the sense that you've suffered any spectacular setback, which was, life crippling as such.
I don't know if I can say I haven't suffered, or it's just that maybe I've built a thick skin. That even when I'm supposed to draw from that well, it's dry to say I looked at 1, 2, 3 and I failed. But I've done so many projects that I would have loved to see them go further. I mean, just last year, I came up with a concept, online social media creative awards with a friend of mine during lockdown. And I pitched to a couple of organizations and even our ministry. And that somehow discouraged me for them not to see the vision, because we are playing in the social media era that you have to be the one who become a trendsetter and look at where the trends are going.
Why did you need that permission? You don't need
the
minister's permission. You could still have gone ahead.
No, not only that. I wanted to help the creatives through the awards. Through the awards, because I wanted them to come on board and say, as it is, nobody's making money. What we want to do now is to reward the people that are keeping us entertained. Because when you go on WhatsApp right now, you see a guy maybe called Tection BW, he's writing that. Probably you haven't noticed, but you've seen the joke saying when you laugh about it. But that is somebody who took his time to apply his intellectual mind to make something creative and place it there for you to laugh. So we need to recognize those people, and when we recognize and reward them, we are helping them now to do more. And we are also helping others who've been holding back to jump on the wagon to do more. And that's how you build the creative. So they simply just disregarded the idea? No, there's no money, there's this, there's that, which is the usual case. So, and then we also experience where in the same space where you pitch ideas and then some swindle them in a way, and they will change a few things. And you can
use them as if they're
yes. So these are things that a lot of creatives go through that they somehow, at the end of the day, some of them just leave everything and go back and maybe do farming or whatever.
So apart from developing the thick skin, which you say you've developed, what other life lessons have you developed in your business journey and socially?
I think it's to talk less, keep the right circle, maximize on the network that you have, and always look at the idea that you start up and broaden it. Not just to say, I want to be in, let's say I want to be in the production space, and you say, I'm just going to sell to BTV, or I'm going to sell to Now TV. Think of ways on how you can make money. Think of maybe I can do a production for companies who want to profile their services and all that. I want to also have a chat with Netflix and do research, or how can they take up my products, and how can I sell even to DSTV or you know. So if we broaden our space, I mean our mindset, it will help us to play in the bigger space and also change our attitude, because attitude eventually can make you, or it can break you in the same space. Yes.
Recently, you invited me to an expo. Actually, it's a local currency conference and expo.
Yes.
And you also spoke there. Tell us a little bit about that particular effort and whether or not it was a success.
Yes, it was organized by a friend of mine who we also do other businesses that we partner with, but it was his particular project. But his main focus was to make sure that we have an engagement on the use of Pula currency in the creative space or in the business space. So we looked at different approaches, strategies, companies that play their role. What is it that inspires them, and what is it that motivates them to be, and what is it that can be done to improve the space that we play in. Yes.
How successful was it?
I believe he was successful. Yeah, he's happy.
Because it was, maybe explain to the viewer what form it took. It was an online thing. How did it?
Yeah, it was a virtual conference, and he invited, I think it was a 3-day conference, so he invited all the 3 different speakers from different organizations.
I think his argument is that the money is not circulating enough within this economy, and that we do not support local creators sufficiently, and there's a need to actually be intentional about promoting local products and services.
Yeah, I mean the support is not sufficient. We are struggling, to put it, to be very frank, we are struggling because if it comes to, let's say, for TV production, to give us an example, you would find that I think for the past 4 or 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, they were supposed to buy content from local producers, but to date nothing has happened.
And money has been allocated, but it's not being used.
I believe so. And that on its own, it's a problem, because government takes creatives to go study, go Malaysia, go Kai, and learn how to use these cameras that you are here and all that. But then when the opportunity or opportunities are supposed to be availed, they are of no avail. And now it affects even the whole value chain of people who now partake in that very same space. I mean, makeup artists, designers, those hairdressers and all that. So it's the very same people, they keep the money.
Do you ever get an explanation as to why, for instance, there's no uptake for these shows, why BTV is not buying some of this local content? Do you ever get explanations?
I don't know. I don't recall any good explanation according to me, because I believe where there's a will, there's a way. And if you look at our population, 60% it's youth, and youth are very creative. Youth are they're forward thinkers. They're aggressive in their approach, and they want things to be done. And because of these social media, they are very instant. They want things to be chop done. But we fail them because now we frustrate them because of the opportunities that are just closed out in their faces. And the thing is, you come up with an idea and pitch to the same individual who would say to you that because of the current or the situation that has always been there for years, that the content that we are fed is from South Africa. TV, radio, food, lifestyle, everything. We are a subculture within a culture of South Africa.
Yeah, but that doesn't explain why things are not being bought when they should be bought.
Now it comes to here. When I go to you, like what has happened to me before, I pitched an idea to one of the local companies and say, listen, this is what is coming up. I have an event that is coming up, and this is the idea that I have. I want to help you to sell your product. I want to sell my tickets prior to the event, and I want my customers as well to make sure that they benefit from this setup. So what they are going to do is when they buy your product, they'll get my ticket for free. Now it works for both of us. So they failed to take up this idea. 3 weeks later, to be precise, this gentleman went to Cape Town, invited by the same company, and then they had an event there, and he saw what I was talking about. Because he was not exposed to it, and it was not done in SA, he turned it down. 3 weeks later, he calls me and say, why don't you do this at your event? He forgot that I'm the one who came up with that idea too. So the problem is that when it's done in SA, it is. When it's local and we've never seen it, it's not it. So it's a huge problem for us in the creative space.
Okay, what keeps you motivated and inspired in the face of all this, I would say, resistance and negativity sometimes?
I think one is what I've seen about myself before anything. Before all the rejections, before all, you can't do this, you can do this. I think I draw my strength on that, and at the same time, the second thing is also I realize that the failures as well, they've somehow helped me to become a person who motivates himself as well, because you realize that most of the time you can motivate somebody. You can think that you're motivating somebody, but he's not motivated, so it starts within you. So I try to also help myself to be motivated by one, maybe meditating more on the word, two, also engaging with people who are doing well, who inspire me to do well. I mean, if I have a conversation, I think even if it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes, I'm always going to learn something from the conversations that we have. So I expose myself to a platform that I know would always somehow provide something that I don't know, or insight on something that I'm failing on. Yes.
Okay, and what role is your religious faith in keeping you motivated? I see you.
What? Sorry?
What role does your faith play in keeping you motivated and energized?
It plays a big role because I realize that whatever that happens to me has happened to somebody before. And I think it's just a matter of learning how one has dealt with. Like I said, there's a template that has been set. We're predestined to plug in and be who we're supposed to be. So rather than crying on for spilled milk, you have to look at whatever that happens to you as life lessons and not as failures as such, and apply those lessons going forward.
How can one identify and monetize that passion? You've done it very well, but how can those who are watching do that?
What has, I would say maybe how I've applied it, it may not be the same
For somebody else.
for somebody else. But I always say your passion leads you to your purpose. And if you don't know your purpose will take you to your passion. So find...
Say that again, that sounds very sweet.
Your passion leads you to your purpose. And if you don't know your passion, find your purpose, it will take you to your passion. So now what I did is I looked at first, because somebody once asked me, how do you identify your passion? It was an interesting question, and I said, I looked at the things that I did them without knowing that I'm doing them.
What do you mean?
Let's say I love to take pictures, for example. I would just take pictures. I would just be on my phone and take pictures. Until maybe you say to me, have you realized that you are always on your phone taking pictures? Why don't you do this, turn this thing into a business? Then I'll be like, oh, okay, this makes sense. So you have to identify things that you just do and enjoy doing them with ease at the same time. Because then it goes to what we said in the beginning, that what you do with ease is because you have grace and the gift is there. Now you're just activating it, you're just cultivating it. So identify that and then look at opportunities around. Usually what I do, I take a simple exercise. I just draw a circle in the center, and if it's like, let's say for example, if I was doing events, I would just say events, and then I'd go and say, in this event, what can I do? I'll be saying, okay, my revenue stream will be tickets, stalls, food stalls, and then merchandise. And then from there, I'll look at the merchandise and say, what merchandise can I bring? And when I started doing that, I realized that even charging a cooler at the door, at one point it made a good 100K. But because I wasn't aware of it before, now I was losing. Because somebody who was there was making money for himself. If I started paying attention to the merchandise, I realized that the merchandise is making so much money, more than even the event. And you make money before the event. Then I also learned that paying attention to the value chain, you look at what you spend more, and then you realize that, okay, maybe I can start saving. Like what I did, I also said, okay, now I'm gonna have barricades, my own barricades. Because I can't be playing in the same event space for so long, and I don't have any equipment that I can hire out when I don't have my own event. So I started off with
you
barricades.
manufactured your own barricades?
I manufactured my own barricades because I didn't have the money to buy the most expensive and fancy. So I manufactured, I supported a local guy in Kanye, started with 10,000 worth of barricades, 40, 50 meters. Then we are now sitting on close to 400-500 meters.
Wow.
Because now it was paying attention to the value chain. So you find that when you identify your passion, there are streams. Like I said, if you meditate on the scripture more Genesis, there's a river that was watering the Garden of Eden. But hindsight well in these streams. So the most important thing when I learned from that with my own revelation is to understand, you have to be established in who you are first, your identity. So that when people say, Kibata Mr. Mogobe, they know what is it that they want from you. How can they identify you? If they're saying top 3 lawyers, then you say, okay, Mr. Mogobe Mote. Then Mr. Mogobe Hanzatulete as a lawyer, he invested in property, he invested in this, he invested in this. These are streams that eventually come back to the same mainstream.
It's a very good way of putting it. I really like the way you... and then the monetization aspect just comes on its own.
Monetization, for sure, when you identify these opportunities now, you have to look at like I gave it examples of those merchandise. You now start looking at how is it going to make money.
Well, if you're paying attention, it just sort of triggers itself on its own.
Yes, but for sure you have to do your research. I mean, you can't say, I want to have barricades when you know that there are no services, that kind of services or products that you are going to sell, they don't have a ready market. I had to look at all the events that are around corporate, individual, your trade fairs or whatever, sports event, marathons, and I looked at it, okay, this can be viable, but I can start small. Yeah, so I think it's an issue of understanding the value chain. Once you understand the value chain of what you have and look inside yourself and say, this is what I enjoy doing, but be able to also not limit yourself based on where you are in terms of the location, because then you can now open your mind bigger.
It seems to me you are in the event generation and the event management business. You create those events, you manage some of them. I think that's what you do, mainly listening to you. What did you say to a young creative watching who's on the fence if they were to ask you, is this thing really lucrative? Is there money here in the long term?
It is, and it's a tricky business. You get a lot of people coming to you say, we want to invest in this. And I like to be honest with them to say, if you want to play in this space, it's a high risk and high return business. Today, it can rain and then nothing is going to happen after. You lost everything. Or you can invest 20,000 and then you make it 200,000 because people liked the concept. Nothing was happening on that day and people were bored, but they were loaded. They wanted to go out. You know, but not to say there's no a list or checklist of things that you need to do right to organize. And there are a lot of things that contribute to the success. So if young creatives who are out there want to do it, it's different now because of the COVID situation. I mean, it's been 2 years, nobody was hosting events, and we don't even know what it's going to be like after this. So those who are entrepreneurs and they are not just event managers, they will survive. But those who are just event managers, I think they might
start looking for jobs.
They might start looking for jobs. Yes. So it's an interesting business because and you think about something, you conceptualize it, and then you sit down with people and you make people believe in something that has not even existed. And if it's sponsors, they have to buy into what you are selling to them before they can actually physically see it. So when they are excited at the event that this is a success, you've seen it before it was a success.
So the answer is yes or no. It can be lucrative, but there are landmines on the way.
A lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Which is why I made sure that I spread my nets into a lot of pots, so that when this is not happening, I'm creating content
For instance,
for
what are those
TV.
pots? Just TV?
TV, we have an interesting concept which is music, culture, and fashion, tourism, culture, and music. And lifestyle, yes, because include fashion. But what we do is we travel to different places and showcase Botswana, places that you can visit with music and all, and we give you profile the places. So while you're watching music, you are learning about a place, you appreciate the view from your drone shots, from all these other things. And it's called Janala. So just to explore.
So it's TV, Janala.
Yes,
there
are other two that we've submitted. There's one that is called Tukwi. We teach people how to play around with their Tukwis and all that. It's for TV.
What is it called? Headdress shawl.
Yes.
Tukwi. I'm trying to think of an English name for it.
Yeah, Tukwi. Yes. Yeah, and that's
what is happening there? You're teaching people what?
We make it very fun and interesting, in the sense that we get different faces to teach people on how to, and then we create a story behind.
So then what are you selling there? The opportunity to be part of that, or?
No, not to be part of. We sell that as content to TV.
Oh, okay, yes. as a movie. As a series,
as a filler, or as a content, if you can call it TV content, yes. And then we have others that also we look at the creative space, and I looked at what is it like my journey. I realized that I know a lot of people in my space, from people that have given jobs, people who have contributed, be it artists, be it sound people, be it sponsors and all that. So I brought all of them together and started engaging them on what happens behind scenes that you don't even know, that contributes to the success of the event. So, for example, if you see an MC on stage, what contributes to you choosing that particular MC, because an MC can make or break the show. And for sponsors, if you sit down with them, understand their language, what kind of language are we supposed to have, engage in, or how are we supposed to pitch our proposal so that they can say, no, we can be part of your project.
Okay, something a bit, I'd say it's controversial, political, whatever, the challenge we have with key players who are meant to support local businesses, but in a sense sabotage them. That's a challenge, a real challenge.
Yes.
But there's no use crying about something without offering solutions. How can we directly tackle this problem? The problem of whether it's citizen sabotage, the problem of tele, the problem of things not getting done.
Yes.
There should be a way. We can't spend our lives just complaining. How do we tackle this problem and kill it? Because we can't spend our lives complaining about it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it in one word: continue working. Continue working and look for other opportunities, because you can't change a person who's not willing to change, because the system is a person.
The president gave 2-3 speeches on reset.
Yeah.
And the need to have a reset.
Yes.
Isn't this an opportunity for us to jump in and shake up the system and confront, and literally confront these bureaucrats who are blocking progress?
I'll give you an example. We had a project that we did last year, which was going to benefit more than 2.8 creatives.
2.8, 2,800.
Yes. Which was a well thought of project, which we submitted to our ministry, and the conversation was based on there's nothing that is happening for creatives altogether. So what we want to do, we called it Telapedi to say Retsai. And then we said, listen, in the space that we're in, and it seems like the situation is not even changing anytime soon, let's adopt this new way of doing things. Look at all the creators, TV, on film and all that. Let's bring them together and come up with projects that they will partake in and make something out of it. Because these are people that on a normal, they would not come to your office and ask for anything. They would put their own money and then invest on that. But it failed. Till today, we don't understand how that project failed.
It's viable, it
was viable. Making. Yeah, and we engaged back and forth with the ministry from the highest level to the lowest level. You know, so those are some of the things.
What I'm saying is, how long have we been complaining about that? I'm trying to change
we
the conversation.
We engage.
Yes, but is it not time to do more than that?
We engage, we sit down, we try to address the issues, and we are hopeful that maybe when the next person comes in, he will come up with a better approach. It's not like we are sitting, there are organizations. I never used to be part of associations or whatsoever, but I learned that you can't want to see change when you are not closer to the game and understand what's going on. So I partook in all that and understand really what goes on between the conversations with the key players. But we are failed by people who sometimes they don't want to share the same vision. I don't know if it's because of sabotage within their own space.
You don't know.
Nothing to do with us.
You don't know that it's sabotage? When the progress is being killed and stifled, isn't that sabotage?
I would say yes. I would say yes. You'd find that they sabotage each other, and it affects us in the process. Yeah, and not like we don't have one. So now what my approach right now.
Engaging until when?
It doesn't help.
So now Martin Luther King said, gradualism is nothing else other than standstillism, which ends up in do-nothingism.
Yes.
If you say gradually things will change, it ends up as standstillism, do-nothingism. He said that in one speech.
And he's very right. And I think that's why I would say now my mindset right now, it's not just here. Yeah, because I think because I've also engaged with different stakeholders and even key players. I even, like I said earlier on, I even advised them to say, we are not going to be in this industry for long. So it means whoever needs to pick our brains and run with our experiences that we are going to share with them, they need to do that now. And you need to also help us. We are doing our part in our own space, but make sure that you also do your part. But if you don't do this, then you find that we are just moving in circles. But for us, it is now every man for himself at the end of the day. Do you want
It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, do you want to stay in the corner and cry? Or do you want to now look at yourself and say, what is it that now I can do? Because I think my fair share, I've played my fair share in this space to try and make people see where we're supposed to go. So right now it's an issue of what is available in Zambia. What can I do in Zambia?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you
Yeah.
next. I mean, that's really a good segue into the next point to touch on available opportunities and how we can broaden the space.
Yeah.
And even look outside the current cake, which is being messed up by this sabotage.
One gentleman, when I was in SA, and we were in a business meeting, and he said two things to me. He said, one, any day I'll partner with you because Umotswana. And I asked him, why is he saying that about it? Because you offer two things to me. One, Botswana are trustworthy as compared to my fellow citizens. Then the second thing he said, you are also giving me two markets. You are giving me, with the idea that you are coming with to me, is an idea that can work here in SA, but at the same time, you are bringing market intelligence from Botswana. So which means I can tap into what you are bringing and explore opportunities in Botswana. And for the fact that you are here, you are not like me who has been used to this environment that we're in. You come with an eagle eye, an overview into the market setup that we are in. So there are going to be more opportunities that you're going to make me see that I have ignored for some time. So it's very important for us to realize that we are valuable and understand our significance. Yeah, because if we ignore that part, we won't be able to serve our purpose in full. We will not explore the businesses that we have. We will not reach even the visions that we have. Because if you don't go forward in terms of what you have envisioned yourself to be, if you don't try to establish or explore even the context that you have, because when you build, because your reputation at the end of the day speaks for you in your absence. Now, that reputation also bears what we can call your network. And that network eventually translates to your net worth. So you need to be able to tap into your network so that you can improve on your net worth. So there are people that I know, after this conversation, we can engage further. Then you can say, but there's somebody that I know because you said you wanted to play in the app space, who you can talk to maybe in SA, because maybe there's a 60 million population. So your uptake of your product can eventually translate to this figure. And then that on its own can now change the whole business space.
Have you ever thought about the AFCTA and see how we can benefit directly from it and what it promises? The idea of Africa market free trade that is spelled out in the AFCTA, AFTA.
No, I haven't really thought about it. It's the first time I'm hearing about it.
Okay, it's a free trade agreement. It came into effect the 1st of January.
Okay.
It's supposed to, deal with barriers, non-tariff barriers and tariff barriers at the border to make Africa trade within Africa.
Yes.
So it's something you could look at closely, except that Botswana, maybe because of what you've been saying, have only signed, but they haven't ratified. They have been asking for ratification, ratify. And they're taking their time to ratify. So it's difficult for us to use the act or the instrument directly because it has not been ratified by our government.
Yeah, I was also going to do a research on why is it that even on social media, the content that is posted, the creatives cannot monetize as compared to other countries.
It's frustrating because YouTube, for instance, doesn't recognize Botswana.
You see?
We are not recognized. We are thought of as not even as part of South Africa. It's like we exist. But when it comes to charging us and billing us, that they do. Facebook, but we are not officially recognized. It's something like perhaps Mark Zuckerberg should look into if he's watching this show.
Yes, because that also affects a lot of creatives, because it frustrates them, because you would find that a guy like William, last time Chris Brown sent a message to say, hey, if you sing my song like this guy, you're my guy, something like that. And the guy was trending because of his videos that is just from Botswana. But now monetization is a problem. So that means you're going to keep on creating content, but you're not going to get paid. Whereas just in the neighboring countries, guys are making money from that.
Yeah. We need to get maybe government involvement, because it might be a political thing.
Yes.
If I speak as an individual, who's going to listen? But maybe if it's a government official and a government letterhead, somebody will listen.
Yes.
So if somebody is watching from the relevant ministry, do something. Now, the impact of social media on our creatives, that could be the last thing that we talk about. But in talking about that, also try and explain how you use social media yourself in your business.
Yeah, I think ever since I tap into that wave, I saw one interesting thing in terms of the financial part of our business, because we used to spend your 70, 80K in advertising on radio stations to promote products, events, and all that. And but currently, you may spend a good 1,000 and put an ad there for 2 weeks, and then it can reach people. You can play around with your shares. You can do create groups and do the broadcast. Then you know that people would now share the ads or flyers or videos or whatever that you are doing. So social media has made life very, very interesting. It has really helped a lot of companies to become great companies at a minimal budget. I mean, remember when we were starting off, when we started with our fashion magazine, I remember we had 20 magazines on the table, because then internet was nowhere, you know, so we had to look at Cosmo, Glamour, and what. We went page by page to try and study how they do things. And then out of that, we now created our own identity of our magazine. So now I always say to the ones who are coming up, you guys, you are very fortunate. You have the world at the palm of your hand. I mean, if you want to talk to whoever, you just DM and they can respond immediately. So I think it's just, even for old folks,
quote unquote,
quote unquote, they also need to look at always having somebody in their businesses who is somehow social media orientated, so that they can help them to be in that space. Because you can't say, no, I don't understand this, so I'm not going to play my role in this. Yeah, so it's that. And even for anyone who wants to start off whatever that they want to do. I mean, I saw some video of somebody who was saying, because of COVID, she now started cooking, and then she's making her monies, but she always thought this is who she is. So she went on social media and started posting, and then people started tagging other people, and that's how it became big. So it just shows you that social media is here and is here to stay. And I think we need to maximize on it and understand even better on that.
Time has become our enemy.
Yes.
Looking 10, 15 years, where do you see the Entaile Incorporated 10, 15 years from now?
My company is called Richman.
I'm giving it a new
name.
Yeah, you know the whole brand.
So I want to be playing, I want to embark on something that I know would definitely leave a legacy for my great kids, grandkids. And with that said, I've been reminded of the verse that says, a man who leaves an inheritance for his children's children, God considers him a great man. So I think you already achieved that yourself. But for me, that's what I want to do. So, and I want to apply my mind and play in the international space in terms of the ideas that I have. I mean, I've already engaged with a couple of people outside who have shown liking into what I'm bringing forth to them. And I want those products, I see my products being consumed whole of Africa, even abroad. That is why I'm saying I'm playing in the app space, because I realize that is
very good
that is where a lot of people are who are even doing well, who are billionaires right now. Started off with an idea, and that is why I really want to immerse myself more in the research of how can I bring in angel investors, how does that work, and all that.
Maybe so we'll talk to A and B afterwards.
Yes.
We'll talk.
Yes, so these are some of the things that I'm learning, because it's a new space, and I'm excited that I challenge myself to not be comfortable. For as long as I can apply my mind, I'm fulfilled. For as long as I can help the next person, make them realize who they are and serve their purpose, I'm fulfilled in a way.
Time for you to hit me with that question, sir. What's your question?
How did you do it?
It's too broad. I think it was trial and error, especially error, and a bit of persistence, and multiple setbacks along the way, and a preparedness to ride the wave, the roller coaster wave, through thick and thin, through storms and through even times of opulence.
Okay.
So I was prepared to hang on to the back of that galloping horse, so to speak, as it went up and down, and then in the end it proved worthwhile. And we're going through one of the biggest times of upheaval now under COVID. So my view is that this is the ultimate. I'm hanging on to that, to the back of that horse, so that we can overcome the turbulence that goes with the riding. So I think it has to do with that. The other point was, of course, having good mentors, and then coupled with the upbringing, having good mentors and the upbringing, and then over and above that, having a strong religious faith. As a practicing Seventh-day Adventist Christian, I find, and for that matter, fourth generation, I find that, taking the baton over these generations has really been helpful and has prepared me for now. I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, I think maybe I would just want to ask the last one.
There's no time, but go ahead.
And how have you been able to handle failure? Because I think a lot of people would see you where you are right now and assume that it was all rosy.
It goes back to religious faith. When the Bible says a righteous man falls, a wicked man falls once and a righteous man rises 7 times.
Yeah.
That I accepted. But I found that it's much more than 7 times. It's more like what Jesus was talking about, 70 times 7.
Yeah.
7. So that's the nub of it. You have to look at that camera, Mr. Entaile, and speak to whoever is watching, and leave them with words of inspiration, words of encouragement, things they can take home.
Okay. I think my last words are that done is better than perfect. So whatever that you're thinking, whatever that you're passionate with, do it now. Don't give more reasons of not doing it, but look for more reasons why you are going to get the results that you are looking forward to. So stick to your purpose. Don't look to the next guy, what he's doing. You can only learn, but don't compare yourself, because every man has to run his race, and every man at the end of it all would say, I've run a good race, or you would say, I failed because, but thank you very much for having me, sir.
It was a pleasure. Tell them how they can reach you. Give them your contacts, including on social media, the physical addresses, the works. including your WhatsApps.
Okay, my number is 7155 7988. 7155 7988. Invite me to have a chat with you or speak to whoever in different conferences. I'm an emerging speaker of note. And then on WhatsApp, it's the same number. And social media, it's Taes Entaile, Taes Entaile, or Taes Richman. Taes, Taes space Richman, it's one word. And the company is called Richman. My email is richman.empire@gmail.com. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. You've been a powerful guest.
Thank you, sir.
Very powerful.
Thank you.